Hello out there, everybody. Manny here at Area 503. I hope you all have been well since our last video. Today I just want to talk about NASA's Mars InSight mission, which is scheduled to land on Mars Monday, November 26, 2018. In anticipation of this monumental event, I wanted to take a little time to review the mission to date. InSight was originally launched May 5th, 2018. The primary mission of InSight is to deliver a stationary lander that will deploy a seismometer called SEIS, and also to deploy a heat probe that will measure heat transfer. Scientists are hoping that by studying this data, they can further understand the creation and evolution of all of the planets in our solar system. Now, scientists have wanted seismological data on Mars for quite a long time. Back in 1976, the Viking 1 spacecraft had a seismometer installed. However, it failed to deploy properly. And Viking 2 also had a seismometer installed. However, it was mounted to the landing craft, and therefore it would produce unreliable data when it would shake and rattle in the Martian winds. Shortly after InSight separated from the launch vehicle, it deployed two CubeSats known as MARCO, or Mars Cube 1, A and B. The MARCO CubeSat program is a test program by NASA and the first of its kind. These CubeSats will be launched from InSight and will follow their own trajectory to Mars. The CubeSats will meet up with InSight upon landing, and they will relay real-time information back to Earth and allow real-time course corrections to InSight during the landing phase. If the MARCO CubeSat project is successful, I would expect to see its inclusion on just about every mission from here on out. And here, after the 180-degree roll, we see the deployment of the MARCO CubeSat B. Let's take a look at what's going to happen once InSight reaches Mars. Here the landing module is separating from the spacecraft. And here the landing module is entering the atmosphere of Mars. Here comes the deployment phase of the parachute to slow the descent. The heat shielding is now going to be jettisoned to expose the landing module. And the lander detaches to prepare for its final descent. Here come the landing thrusters. And we have touchdown. Alright, little buddy, it's time to get to work. Let's get them solar collectors set up. After all, a spaceship has gotta eat. And now that everything is staged, we can get to the final mission, to deploy the seismometer and the heat probe. This robotic arm assembly is going to move the seismometer away from the lander. This was a hard lesson to learn from Viking 1 and 2. Now that the seismometer is deployed, we can deploy the heat probe, which is shown here during its test phase. In order to conserve on mass and power, NASA devised a self-hammering nail mechanism in order to drive the heat probe deep into the Martian soil. The mole, as it's referred to, uses less than a watt of energy to drive back an internal kinetic striker over 4 seconds, and then releases it over 1/10 of a second, driving the nail downwards to a maximum depth of 15 meters or close to 50 feet. All in all, it seems like the InSight mission is showcasing some of NASA's finest work. The mission timing was planned out exceptionally with the rotations of Earth and Mars, allowing for a short travel time. The Marco A and B CubeSats could revolutionize the way NASA handles lander missions in the future. And the creativity behind the deployment of the seismometer and the impact hammer device in order to get the thermal probe down into the Martian soil both highlight the fact that NASA is really thinking outside the box on this mission. In my opinion, InSight has been one of the best managed and streamlined of NASA's missions in a long time. It came in on budget and on time. And there's one last really cool detail I just want to bring to your attention about the InSight mission. Do you see that small chip that's being installed right there? That is a small chip that contains the names of over 2.4 million individuals. They were all engraved on the chip using an electron laser. And it is interesting to think that someday, if Mars is colonized, those names could be immortalized in a memorial. Well, folks, that's all I got on the InSight mission for now. I'll be sure to do a follow-up once InSight lands and deploys all of its instruments. I sure am excited to see this one. As always, guys, this has been Manny at Area 503. And I wish everyone the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.